Welcome to this episode of the Coaching Circle. And today I want to talk to you about something that will completely shift the way that you look at goal setting, strategy, and growth in business. And it's this: your nervous system is responsible for achieving your goals. Now, if that sounds a bit out there or a bit woo-woo or too sciencey, well, let's be honest, you're in the right place because you're my crew and we go deep here. We're not just looking at the surface level structure of I say I'm going to do this and then I'm going to work flat out and do it. No, we are talking about alignment, capacity, and congruence. And this is the secret sauce that will make all the difference to what you achieve. And so if you're someone who's busy doing all the right things, but you're not seeing the results that you expect, or maybe that things are just taking a lot longer than they should, this is likely why. And this will affect your business, your income, your visibility, and all of these things will only expand to the level that you feel safe and ready to hold. And this is what we're going to dive into because this affects people. And I work with clients that are at the startup phase all the way through to seasoned, 8-figure business owners. And it's the same stuff at different levels over and over again. So let's dive in. So in business, we often think it's just about strategy. Well, maybe we don't, but they do, right? And that they say if you set the right goals, you take consistent action, you stay accountable, you'll eventually get there. Now, sure, those things matter and it will get you so far. It will get you so far as what your current neurology allows. Okay, because that's not the whole story. The goals, the action, accountability, it's not the whole story, right? And so much so that people will create things in their life that will physically prevent them from achieving their goals. This is really important. That's what will happen if your nervous system isn't aligned and congruent and feeling safe to have what it is that you say that you want to achieve. Okay, because you don't get what you want, you get what you're available for. And it's all the caveats of what you think achieving your goal comes with that is the biggest hurdle. So you get what feels safe. You get what feels familiar, what your system feels like it's actually capable of holding without going into a stress response. And that's why you can see two people do the exact same things. They might have the same funnel, they might have the same posting schedule, they might have the same offer, but they'll get completely different results. So the difference is that one person is energetically open and internally congruent with having what they want. So when I talk about congruency, it means the things that you say, the things that you think, the pictures that you have in your mind, the things that you say to yourself, the feelings that you get are all aligned with, yes, this is definitely a good thing, all the way down to your gut. Okay, because often we operate in this conscious mind going, yes, logically, this all seems right, but it still feels like we're moving through concrete, or we're still just always finding that there's something that is in the way and it doesn't happen. And so, one person will just achieve this stuff because they're aligned and congruent with having it. And the other one might be just pushing and pushing and everything feels overwhelming and unsafe or even threatening to part of them. So they will unknowingly hold things at arm's length. And people won't be magnetized to you if you don't feel safe, right? I don't mean you don't feel safe as in they think you're an axe murderer. I mean, you don't feel safe as in you don't feel emotionally consistent with what you say you can do. And this is the key thing that people pick up very subtly. Does this person seem emotionally consistent with what they say. Okay, so this is what I want you to understand, because your nervous system isn't the enemy, right? It's just trying to keep you safe, which is a good thing. Your nervous system's not working against you. It's not trying to sabotage you. It's doing what it's designed to do, which is to protect you from what it perceives as a threat. Okay, so if success feels like pressure, if visibility feels like exposure, if more money feels like more responsibility than you want, or if just having more money, like we think about money and attention essentially equals power. So if like your unconscious mind might be saying it feels like you're going to have more power, and that will make you a threat to as a target, or a threat to people that you already have established relationships with, thinking narcissistic patterns that people have. So if you've ever had a parent that's narcissistic, and that might be overtly narcissistic, where it's just very plain for everyone to see what they're doing, or it might be covertly narcissistic, where everyone thinks they're amazing, but you seem to have very like little self-worth and all those kinds of things, then you can have these subtle undercurrents that are happening that will make sure that your system will slow things down, right? It'll slow things down if it does not feel you getting the success that you want is safe to your nervous system. Okay, so it's not because you're weak, it's not because you're unmotivated, but because part of you believes that it's not safe to grow. Okay, you might say you want to have more clients, but you feel tension in your body at the idea of holding space for all of them, because you're unconsciously, you might think, oh, if I get more clients, I'm likely to get more people who will complain, or who will cross my boundaries, or who won't respect me, or, fill in the blanks. Okay, the unconscious mind's very good at creating these scenarios of what it thinks that will happen. You might want more income, but you might have underlying feeling of guilt or fear around being seen as too much, or not trusting yourself to manage it, or that you think if I have too much money, everyone's going to come and want a piece of me. Everyone's going to expect that I need to support them. And so it can feel unsafe, right? And what I've come to find is that a lot of heart-led business owners, coaches, practitioners, and those kinds of people who have trouble with visibility and money often have had some childhood conditioning where there's been an overbearing parent, where that they have been conditioned not to express who they are, not to have more than enough, not to stand out too much. Okay, and like I said, often they can be a narcissistic behavior pattern that happens in there, which makes it feel unsafe for you to receive attention or wealth or success. Okay, and it's not about, none of this is about getting awareness about this so you can go pointing the fingers about who's ever like ruined your life or anything like that. But it's just getting awareness of how these patterns play out, because until you have awareness of them, you can't do anything about them. Okay, so we've got to know that when it comes to achieving our goals, if we don't feel safe in achieving them, our unconscious mind will stop us from achieving them. Okay, and it's not just mindset, it's not laziness, it's a capacity mismatch, right? Your nervous system, your neurology needs to have the capacity to receive what it is that you say that you want. Okay, so you might have a strategy that is pointing one way of, I'm going to achieve this many clients, this much money, but you've got an internal experience that's pulling you another way, right? Which goes, oh, let's just spend the next 3 hours playing on Canva. Oh, let's just go and do the washing. Oh, let's just do whatever else, right? And there's this tug of war and it slows everything down. It can even show up as every time you go to do something that is going to give you more visibility or more money, you might get tired. You might get a headache. You might start not feeling well. There's all kinds of things that our unconscious mind will do to stop us from doing something it doesn't perceive as safe. And of course, it's not that it's not safe, it's just an old perception. And what we really need to understand is that these perceptions, the neurology that the unconscious mind has, that it's using to try and protect us, is usually neurology that was formed when you were a child. So it's not update software. It's not relevant. It's not operating with the full truth of who you are as an adult. Okay, it might be a program that was created when you were 3 or 7 or 9. Right now, you're in an adult world trying to make adult decisions with the neurology of a child running the show. So we've got to get awareness of these patterns so that we can release them with ourselves and then step into alignment and congruence with what we want to achieve. And this is where we start collapsing timelines, right? So, and I love this part because it is so empowering. When you become congruent, aligned, okay, so when your energy and your identity and your strategy all align, everything speeds up, right? Everything speeds up. So when I talk about your energy, right, think about energy from a place of frequency, and everything is frequency, right? So the thoughts that you have, this is science. I'm not making this up. This is science. They can literally measure your thoughts and the frequency without even touching your head, right? There's technology that does that these days. So everything is frequency, everything is energy. So your underlying feelings and thoughts and things that you're saying to yourself have an energy, right? People pick it up. Your identity, your strategies, they all have to be aligned and congruent for you to achieve your goals, because otherwise they literally can't exist, right? You can't have an outcome or sustain or maintain an outcome if energetically you don't believe it's possible or you don't believe it's safe. Like they just won't exist in the same space, right? It's reality. So if you look at your reality now, wherever you are, you might be driving in your car, you might be sitting in your office like I am, you might be walking. The only reason that reality exists for you is because you're 100% believe it's okay for that to happen. Right? It's okay for you to be walking where you are. It's okay to be walking or driving or doing whatever you're doing at the time that you're doing it, with whoever you're doing it. Okay? Everything that you've got, your house, the level your business is at, the number of clients that you've got, the amount of money that you've got is all a perfect match for where you are currently aligned with. That's why you have it. So this is the thing. We want to then be able to work out, how do we get aligned with the goals that we want to achieve? And when we do, things speed up, right? Offers land with more ease. Clients say yes faster. People reach out to you out of the blue. Selling feels natural. It's just a natural conversation. Opportunities arrive. You suddenly get a phone call, an email, you meet somebody. Everything starts to come in to your world at a much faster rate. Okay, your content starts attracting people effortlessly. Not because you changed the strategy, but because you stopped resisting the outcome. Right? So you stopped leaking energy to try to get what you didn't feel ready to hold. Because that's literally what happens, right? We say, oh, I want this, but then we've got all these subconscious thoughts and conversations going on that's not aligned with it. Okay, so if you've ever said to yourself, why is this taking so long, right? You've got to ask yourself, is there a part of me that doesn't feel ready to have it yet? And this applies not just to business, but every part of your life. If you're single and you're wanting to get in a relationship, you won't get in a relationship until you feel aligned and congruent and safe to be in a relationship. If you're wanting to lose weight or build muscle, none of that will happen until you're completely aligned and congruent with having that outcome. Right? This is the thing, especially around weight. This is very, very common because a lot of people, weight is often something that the body holds on to for a purpose, right? To make you be more seen or to make you feel safer, that nobody's going to attack you. Or this isn't what this podcast episode is about, so I'm not going to go into that. But everything comes down to this alignment, and especially in business. Okay. And this is the thing, is that so often people think business is just a numbers game. Business is just a strategy game, but it's not, because business isn't, well, your business isn't being run by a robot. It's being run by you, and it's your input. It's the human business interface that makes all the difference, and that's you. Okay. And so, if there's been something going on and you're thinking, why is this taking so long? Or I don't feel like I can get it. And you recognize that there is part of you that feels like you're not ready to have it yet. Even if you don't logically understand that, but you can recognize at least that you're not doing all of the things you would need to be doing to get that outcome. Well, then it's noting that it's not a failure, right? That's just information. It's an opportunity to build that internal alignment. It's an opportunity to do a measurement, right? We got to measure, where am I now? And a measurement can be an internal scan within yourself. And just noticing, when I think about this outcome, is there any resistance? Or do I feel really aligned and compelled to go and achieve it? Okay, sometimes people think they're aligned and compelled to achieve a goal, but really what they're saying is like, oh my God, I can't believe why I can't have this yet. And there's more energy around them not having it than there is having it. Okay, when you're aligned and compelled, you're like, I'm achieving this. I absolutely know it's mine. I'm doing it. There's no doubt, right? It's a belief. It's happening. It's here. Okay, so this is why it's really important that we need to make your goals feel safe, not just exciting. And if you've ever learned NLP and the goal setting technique, you'll know that there's part of that is creating that internal sensation of, oh, how does it feel? And, creating this moment in time where you have it. Right? But we've got to extend that to that it feels safe. It feels like everything is good in the world with everybody that I'm connected to, or at least in a way that I can manage when I get this outcome. Okay, because if you're wanting to achieve a goal and it's going to, in some way, at the unconscious level, your unconscious level mind thinks it's going to interfere with close relationships that you have, that the established relationships that you have will be at a threat if you achieve this goal, then it's going to be very hard to achieve it, right? So we've got to make sure. And this is when I say to my clients about, you want to create a goal that is, I want this and, because a lot of people say, I want this, but I want this, but, I want to make 6 figures in my business, but not be burnt out. That's not aligned and congruent energy, right? Aligned and congruent energy is, I want to make 6 figures in my business, and I want to have the time to spend how I want and feel energized and be able to connect with my family and be able to take holidays and to have a beautiful morning routine and, right? So you want to create the goal and all of the conditions that makes it safe for your nervous system to have. So we've got to do the work to also build our capacity, right? Not just a to-do list. This is where a lot of business owners get stuck. They start doubling down on output. Oh, Grant Cardone's got a whole thing about it. 10x your output, 10x your output. Look, increased output is a good thing, but it has to be aligned output. Okay, if you're doing something that you don't feel aligned with, it's burnout town, right? That's how you get burnt out. So you have to make sure you've got the capacity in your nervous system to be able to do and have and be the person that has that result. And so the biggest shift is not creating some new marketing technique with a fancy funnel. Yes, those things are effective, but you have to be able to give yourself permission to hold more. You have to trust yourself with success. You have to trust yourself as being a good custodian of money. You have to trust yourself that clients coming into your space are going to get the standard of service that you believe you're saying that they're going to get. That you have to believe that they're going to feel good about paying you money, that they are going to love working with you. Right? And you have to know that having more does not mean losing yourself. Having more does not mean losing anything that you value. Right? Anything that you think is a threat to you losing, there will be an illusion in there somewhere. Either an illusion about what it is that you think you've got now, or an illusion about what you think is going to happen when you get your goal. You are the creator. So you get to create outcomes that make your world okay. And this is really important. Okay, so your nervous system has to believe that success won't burn you out, that visibility won't destroy your peace, and that receiving more won't disconnect you from your values. And so this is really important. And Dr. John Demartini talks about this in the values factor, is that if you want to achieve something, you need to know what are your most important values and how will achieving your goal help you get more of what you value. Okay, so if it's your goals, you know, what something's really important to you is connection or family, then you want to make sure that you can find all the ways about how you achieve your goal means that you get more connection or more time with your family. Right? It's something that's really important, and it's something that you can shift, because this is the other problem, is a lot of people have preconceived ideas about what has to happen for you to achieve a goal. Okay, like I said before, some people think, well, the more money I make, the more I have to work. Well, unless working really hard is a high value for you, it's unlikely that that will become compelling. So we have to challenge that and go, are there people in the world who make more money and work less hours? Well, yes, there are. 100%. Okay, so these shifts, it starts with small things, right? It starts with small things. It might be that you start speaking more of your truth in your content. It might be that you're showing up more without overthinking everything that you're going to say. It might be that you sell without over explaining every little detail about your offer, which only serves as overwhelming your potential clients anyway. It might be around receiving money without guilt. But the main thing is to know none of this is about proving your worth. It's about trusting your ability to hold more without putting yourself under stress. That's what your nervous system is trying to protect you from. And we have to know that you're allowed to grow your business in a way that feels light for you, in a way that feels like you can trust your business to support you, that you have a space of internal alignment. You can become the person that you're like, yeah, I love my business. I absolutely love my business. Now, there was a time when I was working as a part-time accounts person, and I worked for another company, and I got that job because before that I worked in banking, and I was so sick of banking. I was so sick of banking, mostly the customer service, and at that time, all of my KPIs that I didn't really appreciate at that time, But I said to myself, I'd be happy if I had a desk and a phone and a computer and a window, and I could rock up at my job and do my job and go home. Well, I was in alignment with that and I created it, right? And that's when I was in accounting, and that's what I did until I decided I wanted something else. I didn't want to have to work in for somebody else. I didn't want to have to be driving in peak hour traffic. I didn't want to be asking for permission to go on holidays. I didn't want to be told what time I could go to lunch. I didn't want to be told what time I had to start work or stay at work too. Like, I didn't want to be told any of that stuff. So I had to get in alignment with me being able to build a business where I do something that I love, working with people that I love from home, and that it would be an amazing scenario. Now, I could never have known at that point in time that I would end up buying a house that had a room outside of the house that I could use as my office, and that I could literally build an amazing business, and that paid me to work from home coaching people, which essentially now my coaching is at such a level that it's all very transformational conversationally. People literally pay me for my voice, for my ability to communicate, for my ability to understand the structure of their thinking and to help them shift their perspective. That's not a traditional way to make money, right? But I've now been doing it for like near on 10 years because I became in alignment with that. It's really important. So we have to think about that, right? We really have to think about that. You're allowed to grow from a place of lightness and know that there can be times where it's uncomfortable, but that's only ever temporary on the way to creating that alignment, right? You don't need to hustle your way, right? You don't have to force yourself into being ready. It's understanding what you're actually working on is what will make all the difference. So you can become the person who feels calm about money, who feels anchored in being visible, who feels grounded in your leadership, and someone who attracts results faster because your system sees your results as a natural extension of who you are. That is the work that changes everything, right? This is what makes your goals inevitable. Okay, so it's really important. It's like the visualizing and all that stuff's great, but you have to be training your nervous system that it's going to be okay and that you'll be safe and that you can trust that in getting that outcome, everything will be good in your world. So I want to leave you with this question, and that is, what are you asking for in business that part of you still doesn't trust yourself to hold? Because that's your next level. And the more safety and congruence you create around that desire, the faster it will show up for you. Okay, this is exactly the kind of work that we do inside of my business program, Business Alchemy. It's where we align your strategy, your energy, and your structure so that you're ready to receive the results that you're asking for. Okay, it's no coincidence that I put the word alchemy in the title of this program because it's very much around turning lead into gold. Which is metaphorical for becoming enlightened, right? It's about turning all the lead. The lead is all of the structure, beliefs, and values that are not aligned with what we want. It's recognizing them and resolving them so that we can step into the lightness of enlightenment, where we become aligned with what it is that we want. So there's details about how you can join Business Alchemy in the show notes, or reach out to me if you want to find out more details. It is making a huge amount of difference to the people who are in there. One of my clients recently made $18,000 in 30 days. It's her most record month ever. and she's just consistently growing because she's done the work. She's aligning her nervous system. It's making all the difference. There's clients in there that are having record bookings of clients week after week, right? This is the key piece. This is what makes all the difference. So if you're ready to shift from doing more to holding more, business alchemy is that step for you. You don't have to push to grow. You just have to align and take aligned action. So that's it for today. Of course, if this episode landed with you, send me a message and tell me what was your favorite bit, and take a screenshot, share it, send it to someone who would value this, because I get so much great feedback from people who listen and the shifts that they've had. And I love being able to provide this information to you, to the world. Keep doing amazing things.